Hey guys, welcome once again to Chiniti's 100. In this video I'm showing you how I turn a regular square tip into a stiletto or a pointy tip, however it is that you know it. So I start off with some scissors. I cut off my tip a little bit longer than what I really want the final length of my nail to be, and you're gonna see throughout this video how I constantly go back and I kind of put it over my nail, and I'm just basically making sure that it's kind of to my liking. I'm making sure that it's not too short, that it's not distorting, and that it's not too narrow in comparison to my actual natural nail. And the reason that I don't actually shape the stiletto or the nail tip glued onto my natural nail is because for me personally it's much easier to do so with the tip not glued on. That way I can maneuver the tip and move it around easier with both hands instead of having it glued on, and it's less tiring on my finger, you know, having the finger like, you know, sticking out like that and having to modify it. So I kind of give it the basic shape while it's still not glued on, and then once I give it the basic shape I finally go in and glue it onto my nail. But in the meantime, I use an old, not so rough of a file to file it down. That way I don't run the risk of filing too much too soon, and I avoid the hassle of having to start all over again. Just be very careful of not over filing or cutting too much. Basically what you're trying to do is get a V shape. It depends how pointy you want it. So now that I got the general basic shape that I want, I make sure to glue in, especially at the corners. Make sure those corners are very nice and glued, nice and stuck. That's why I'm holding the corners of the nail tip. Once it's very well dried, then I go in with my file underneath the nail tip. My file, if you can see, I'm going to back up in a little bit. You're going to see it's being placed underneath the nail tip, and it's kind of flat. It's not parallel to the nail. It's a little bit underneath and flat. That way it's going to help me achieve that pointy tip. And it depends how pointy you want it. Some people like it more almond. That's the almond nail, a little bit rounder. I wanted it a little bit stiletto-like, but not wanting to poke my eye out or my daughter's eye out while I'm doing her hair. So you could see right here how I'm holding the nail file and going underneath the nail tip. So that's how I achieved it. And you're going to learn, if you practice with your nail tips and your file, you'll see that by holding your file in a different way, you're going to see that it's going to give your nail tip a different shape. And you're going to see the cause and effect of your file. Of holding it a certain way, it's going to cause your nail tip to have a certain shape. So just practice, practice, practice. I mean, I know it's you know, really repetitive, but it really does. Practice helps a lot. You'll find out, you know, you'll learn how your tools work and you'll get the hang of it, trust me. And you can see that I take back a look back, and I move my hand around, I take it and I view it from different angles. That way I make sure that it's not going to lose its shape. It's not going to end up looking weird. And I shape it from different angles. That way it's proportionate. And honestly, nails are to your liking. You're going to shape and wear your nails the way you like it. I am constantly removing, you know how when you file there's like little flyaways, little pieces of plastic? Make sure you clean those off during the process. That way you don't get a distortion. You don't mistakenly think that there's nail tip there when there really isn't, and you don't end up filing more than you really need to. That's why you see me brushing off the excess dust. That way I don't end up over filing, and then you end up with a really narrow, extremely thin nail, and then it's gonna look kind of weird. It's gonna look like you have extremely large fingers and your nail is gonna look really, really thin. Now here I'm just showing you, don't pay attention to the nail application. I was using one of those cheap eBay nail brushes, and it goes to show if you don't have a good brush, your nail application is not very well. Sometimes we have, as beginners, we have a hard time with our nail application. It's not so much us. Sometimes it's also the tools that we're using. So I was having a hard time. Don't pay attention to the application. It was the nail brush that I was using at that time. It was just a quickie, but I just wanted to show you the end result. That's how it looks. If you don't have nail tips in the stiletto form, if you don't want to pay the extra money, because they do get expensive to buy the stiletto tips, you can make your own. Or if you don't have time to wait for your stiletto tips to come in the mail, or if you don't have a store nearby, a nail supply store that sells them, you can make your own. Work with what you have. Don't spend the extra money. It does take a little extra time, but you can do it. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys found this video useful. I hope you like it. If you did, thumbs up. Thanks for subscribing. See you at the next one.